So, right in the heart of Mumbai's bustling Juhu neighborhood, there's a pretty well-known girls' college called SNDT. But here's the thing. Hidden on its campus is a story, a really dark legend that's tied to this old, decaying building that locals will tell you you should never, ever go into after dark.
But this isn't just a spooky tale about some old ruins. Nope, it's a story about a dare, about an absolutely terrifying night, and a question that, honestly, still hangs in the air today. So what do you say? Let's dig in and see what we can find.
The whole legend of this college really boils down to a tale of two very different buildings. You see, to get why this place is so creepy, you first have to understand the layout of the campus itself.
Okay, so on one side, you've got the new, modern building. This is where classes happen, everything is totally normal. But then, right next to it, you have the old one, this derelict, completely abandoned structure that is the absolute heart of our story. It's this ruined building that students whisper about. They say it's haunted.
And this is the core of the legend. People say the spirit of a woman roams these empty halls, and she always shows up at a specific time, 2 a.m. They claim that her voice actually echoes across the entire campus, right in the dead of night.
Of course, every good ghost story needs a skeptic, right? Someone who just doesn't buy it. And that is exactly where our main character comes in, ready to challenge this whole legend and, well, walk straight into a night he would never, ever forget.
Meet Rohan. He's 20 years old. Then, when a friend who went to the college told him the story, he didn't just doubt it, he actually laughed at it. I mean, in his mind, ghosts just weren't real. End of story.
So his friend got pretty tired of being made fun of and threw down a challenge. If Rohan was so sure it was all just a big joke, he had to prove it. He had to spend one night inside that abandoned building. And Rohan, full of confidence, was like, "You're on." He accepted immediately.
But, he wasn't going to go in there all by himself. He brought along his best friend, Vishal. The plan was super simple. Sneak in through a back entrance around 1:30 in the morning, armed with just a couple of flashlights, and face this so-called legend head-on.
So, the challenge was accepted, the plan was all set, and the two friends stepped inside the decaying building. And what started out as kind of a joke, well, it quickly turned into something way more terrifying.
The second they walked inside, the whole vibe just changed. The walls were literally choked with overgrown plants, thick spider webs were draped over every single corner, and the shriek of the rusted doors closing behind them just echoed. But the worst part? It was the silence. It was so heavy and unnatural, they could literally hear their own hearts pounding in their chests.
So as they're creeping down these empty hallways, they suddenly hear it, a woman's voice coming from a classroom. It sounded like a teacher, just reciting multiplication tables. Vishal was instantly terrified, but Rohan, he just brushed it off. He was totally convinced someone was in there just trying to prank them.
But as they got closer to the classroom door, the voice just stopped. And in its place, this unnatural, intense cold washed over them. It felt just like stepping in front of an open freezer, a deep, bone-chilling cold that had absolutely no reason to be there.
They stepped inside the empty classroom, shivering from the cold, and then they watched in absolute horror as a piece of chalk lifted up all by itself and started to write this terrifying message on the blackboard. In that single moment, all of Rohan's skepticism just shattered into pure fear. They didn't even think, they just turned and ran, sprinting out of that classroom and scrambling down the stairs. But when Rohan burst out of the building and into the night air, he realized with this sinking feeling of horror that he was alone. Vishal was gone.
He's frantically screaming his friend's name, and then he looks up. And there's Vishal, trapped, pounding on a locked first-floor window. Pushing past his own terror, Rohan knew he couldn't just leave him. He took a deep breath and charged right back inside.
He finds the classroom. Inside, Vishal is just crumpled on the floor, weeping and mindlessly reciting those same multiplication tables. And standing over him was a woman in a dusty black sari holding a stick. When Rohan saw her face, his blood ran cold. It was rotted, swollen, and her eyes were a milky blank white. Then she slowly turned her head, locked her gaze right on Rohan, and this horrifying smile started to spread across her face.
That was it. That smile. Rohan just turned and ran for his life. But in his panic, he slipped on the stairs, tumbled down, and everything just went black.
When Rohan finally woke up, the nightmare was over. Or so he thought.
I mean, the immediate danger was gone, but the mystery of what truly happened that night, that was just getting started.
He woke up at Vishal's apartment, but Vishal's story was completely different from what he remembered. Vishal claimed he was the one who escaped, only to realize Rohan was missing. He said he saw Rohan screaming at a window, called friends for help, and they all went back in to find Rohan passed out on the stairs, alone. Vishal never mentioned the woman at all. So what on earth did Rohan really see?
You know, despite their completely conflicting stories, one thing was undeniable. The friends who came to help, they heard it too. The disembodied voices of a teacher and what sounded like crying children echoing through the halls. That experience cemented it for all of them. The college was truly haunted, and they all swore they would never go near that old building ever again.
So, the SNDT Girls College is still open today. And you know what? Students still tell this story, terrified to go anywhere near that old building after dark. The legend says that teacher's spirit is still there, still wandering and still looking for her revenge. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Who's going to be the next victim?